Room.
Hello, gut guardians. Who wants Dr. Anna to do a surgery on you and hear high hopes and send me a text? Because it happened. And that's exactly what it is. But, how many colonoscopies have you done in your career?
Mm, Probably around 21 or 22,000.
22,000. Abby's one of them. And
Yep, that was a fun.
I
Oh,
turned
you're on my
53.
list, buddy.
I
You
turned
are on my list.
53 this month, and I am getting my colonoscopy in the next 3 months. I announce it. We're gonna do a whole video of it. We're gonna
Yeah,
do me like go in there. I think we're gonna fly in rather than pull our camper and stuff. Fly
it's fine.
in.
I'll pick you up. I'll pick you up. That's not
We'll
a
have a
problem.
party.
We'll have a party.
I promise I won't text you after the colonoscopy, unlike
No,
someone.
like, bring the fam. We'll take you guys to a rodeo. It'll be fun. You'll stay at our guest house. It's all gonna be fun.
Yeah, I'm just gonna bring myself, I think.
Oh,
I'll
all
bring
right.
Abby. I think you'd be our videographer. Her and Hope.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. And then we'll have drinks by the pool and then go rodeo or something. It'll be fun.
Okay. Who wants a colonoscopy from the Dr. Anatoka? Raise your hand. We'll do a colonoscopy party, but I'm getting one. We're going to do a whole video. It's really important. And I think that's why these calls matter so much. Elena says she's in. And we got a lot of people in here. I love that. We are going to do a full video on it because it is important. And we're going to do a whole feature on national media talking about why colonoscopy matters. My family has colon cancer. So I'm excited to get my colonoscopy. Dr. Anna will make sure it's all clean in there and clean up anything that needs to be cleaned up, and we'll have fun.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Now, part of our series, every single week, we do a topic on gut health. And I just want to share in the Zyva Live group on where you can kind of look at that. We're going to do a 3-part series starting tonight. So we talk about your stomach, your small intestine, your large intestine. We're going to kick it off with the small intestine. Next week, we're going to dive into the large intestine, and then the following week, the stomach. Now, this matters because not only are we going to really dive into each part of the intestines or your digestive system, what happens in it, we're also going to focus on the aspects of why we created Zyve and what parts of Zyve help in each part of that. But it's really important because this is the reality. This is why we show up every Monday night at 9 p.m. for each and every one of you, and the reason you show up. Because once you know what to do, you can choose not to do it, but you can never deny knowing it. And that's exactly why we show up and we do this, and we love the questions. So we'll be following it, ask all the questions on it. When we come right here, this is the community. So if you have questions off it, hit the Zyva Live community in the guide section in this group. Okay, so right here, you click on guides. Last week, we did zonulin, glyphosate, leaky gut. I think we said minimum 85% of population has leaky gut. The dangers of seed oils, strengthening your body's filter. We did your kidney and your liver right here. Plant-based options for gut health with Coach Bev, creating an on-the-go food system, neurotransmitters. We really did a whole thing about from a point of mental health about dopamine and serotonin and how we're going to talk about that in your small intestine, your microbiome. We then did sugar, corn syrup, artificial sweeteners, high fructose, why that is so challenging. And before we dive into small intestine, Anna, on 4-7, we talked about high fructose corn syrup. Tell us about just the 6 atoms and the 5 atoms and why it is causing so many problems.
Oh, yeah. This is just metabolism. And fructose is a natural sugar that's found in fruit. That's why it sounds like fruit, fructose.
Yeah.
High fructose corn syrup is nothing but fructose. And fructose is a 5 carbon sugar, whereas glucose is a 6 carbon sugar. So is lactose, and so is sucrose is glucose and fructose together. So there's a lot of natural sugars that have 6 carbons in them, and then fructose only has 5. Now that is important because in a human being that is breathing oxygen, your body will break a glucose molecule first into 2 3 carbon things and then run them through a particular energy cycle that requires oxygen. The problem with a 5 ring sugar is that when you break it in half, you get 1 3 carbon, but then you get this 2 carbon. And in the human body, a 2 carbon is metabolized sort of in the fat chain as opposed to the high energy sugar chain. So, anyway, so if you're doing a lot of fructose, you are going to start storing at least some of it, if not half of it, as fat. It's one of the reasons we give cattle corn, like as the corn fed. As like you're making them fat on purpose to make them weigh more and to marble the beef. So that's what you're doing to yourself when you are consuming corn in particular and high fructose corn syrup.
So, and this is why this matters. I want everyone to realize, because in the 90s, and there was a fat-free craze going on.
Yes, there was.
And the fat-free craze, what really brought in from the point of high fructose corn syrup. And when that brought in, this is why you've seen people struggle. So this is just the number one rule. Read every label for the rest of your life, for the rest of anyone that you love in your household. Avoid anything that says high fructose corn syrup. That's a first step right there. Please, everyone give me a 1 in the chat if you can commit to that. We are telling you, it is only going to cause you chaos and dysfunction in your digestive system if you just avoid high fructose corn syrup. That is number one. Number two, we did one about seed oils, because seed oils was the other massive enemy. And before we talk about the small intestine, Doctor, talk to me about seed oils, about really quick on this, because these are just, sometimes I showcase some of the previous videos, but not everyone's watching them. So we just want to tell you, this is the information that will change your life. It changes your metabolism. Talk to me about seed oils in particular when we talk about all of the seed oils that we're seeing, the canola oil and that.
So there's a few things that you should know. First of all, seed oils, the way they're high in omega-6 fatty acids, which are part of the inflammatory chain. That's the first thing that you need to know. Omega-6 fatty acids are considered essential, but they are everywhere, so you really do not need to go searching for extra omega-6 fatty acids. You should be consuming 4 times more omega-6 than omega-3s, but in the modern era, most of us consume 40 to 50 times the omega-3s. And so that's all coming from additives to your food and how people cook. So they guesstimate that people are consuming an extra 300 or 400 calories per day in seed oils alone in their diet. Now, the danger is not just that they're inflammatory by their nature when raw, but when you cook them and oxidize them, they become even more inflammatory. And then the way that they are extracted from the seeds involves a lot of chemicals and chemistry. So, and you can't really get rid of all those chemicals. So it's a dirty product. There's additives to that product for shelf life, and it's inflammatory. And the problem is, once you've consumed it, your body doesn't really know what to do with it. So it kind of stores it, and it can last about 2 years in your body. So a French fry you eat today is still part of your gut or your butt or wherever it is that you happen to store fat 2 years from now, right? So
So,
it can be a struggle for people who are doing everything right and they cannot lose weight, and it's because that shit stuck to you. This is not going anywhere.
Michelle White, avocado oil is great. We talk about beef tallow. We talk about olive oil. Like, those are going to be more neutral fats on that. Sunflower, natural sunflower, but once again, that's considered a seed. Now, there's compromise with sunflower lecithin, because sometimes if you're having a shake or a bar, making product the way we've made product in the past with
In
protein,
the lecithin's not really an oil as much as it is
a binder.
it's a choline. It's the basis for something called choline, like acetylcholine. These are all neurotransmitters. So lecithin is really not your problem. It is the oil itself. The omega-6 fatty acid oil is what your real problem is.
So these are just two things. So, I mean, I think there's always important, like our takeaway tonight is going to teach you about the small intestine. But if you miss these calls or you're new to these calls, make sure you go to the group and you want to watch the live Anna and I did on April 7th, sugar, corn syrups, and artificial sweeteners. And then you really want to watch the one we did on May 12th about the dangers of seed oils. Now, the one we did last week on zonulin and leaky gut, every single week, the content is about you. But if there's two things that everyone can commit to now, is you want to really limit the amount of seed oils that you're taking in, watch that live, and you want to avoid high fructose corn syrup. If you can do those two things, and then listen, if you're going to have some stuff, if you are going, just know when you go to McDonald's or you go through fast food, it's in you for 2 years.
Yes.
If you say I'm making that choice, that's why Zyve exists. We made Zyve 7 because we aren't perfect. And if we
Right.
do want to do something, Zyve 7 has things in it to counter the 7 steps of digestion to help and counter some of these things from a zonulin perspective, from a seed oil perspective. So that's when you can use a boost to helpfully help metabolize this so it doesn't stay with you in 2 years. Okay. Anything else, Anna, before we go to small intestine?
Oh, it's a decent review. I like it. I
Okay.
approve, Mark. I approve.
Kim just said also check the olive oil and make sure it's from one country where it says
Yep.
Italy, Venezuela, Chile. You have less chance of it being clean.
Yes. Yeah,
Yep.
there was
Okay.
a huge scandal about Sicily in particular. The mob in Sicily was taking just regular vegetable oil, dyeing it green and selling it as olive oil. So we get our oil from Crete, the Isle of Crete, which is a Greek isle, and typically that is A, delicious, and B, there is no mafia diluting your oil.
Wow. And this is also why, like, I love brands like Costco to a degree because there are like some vetting process. It's kind of like I talk about camping gear. I buy from REI because it vets the vendors. So there are some vetting. Obviously, we want to support local farms and that, but you also want to know that if you're going to buy from a trusted store, buy from a trusted source and experiment that. Kirkland is clean. That's what Kim said. You know, this is, and is one last question. Is cold press better for olive oil?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, so olive oil to make it, you want to cold press it. That's true for
perfect.
any oil. If
Yeah.
it's cold pressed, at least you know they haven't bubbled hexane through it or something like that. Olive oil also is a juice. It has an expiration date, and the fresher that it is, the the more local it is. So all the trees being on the same farm is important. How fresh is it is also important because as it ages, it kind of ages out. So
So
things.
cold. So everyone's gonna go to their cabinet right now. Abby's probably already doing it, looking at it. You want to look at, is it cold pressed?
Yeah.
Is it there? Is it how where is it from? Where's it sourced? These are all things you want to think about. And when we did that live on omega-3, omega-6, we talked about the ways where you could increase your omega-3. Okay, here we go. Abby says he knows me so well. I know she already went there. So there you go. Those are the two that we're focusing on now. Small intestine. Want everyone to stand up,
Yeah.
move their body a little bit because we're kicking off our three-part series: small intestine, then large intestine, and then stomach. And
Sure.
and this matters because, you know, for all my years before I knew Dr. Anna, all my years coaching clients in Venice Beach, you know, I've worked with people with, you know, thousands, colitis, Crohn's, IBS, all of these things. And this is, I wish Dr. Anna was in my life, but, you know, it became that much sweeter once you entered my life. But
See,
see, it did. But I wish I had a Dr. Anna on my shoulder as I was coaching because I understand food, but then, and I understand the gut, I thought really well. And then when I met you and I realized, man, now I really understand the gut. So let's do a recap for everyone. So right here, this is overall your digestive system. We're going to do a three-part series on the small intestine, large intestine, stomach. And small intestine, because I know the stomach hits first and then you have your large intestine, but the small intestine is where the microbiome primarily is. So we want to talk about that. These are your three parts. So when we think about from the point, this is your stomach, and then this is really duodenum. When we think about this, this is going to be focused on it from this perspective, the three parts of it. And then we're going to talk about what happens in the small intestine. What are the enzymes and what a healthy small intestine looks like, how it's supposed to work. And then we're going to talk about some of the challenges that happen, some of the natural disease challenges that happen in small intestine. And then we're going to drive in things that you can immediately do to help improve your health of your small intestine. Sound good, everyone? Give me a 10 in the chat if that sounds good. Okay, Anna, walk me
yes.
through the small intestine. Like, what is it supposed to do?
Okay. Well, the first thing I want to correct, just for the record,
Yes,
that the majority of the microbiome lives in your colon.
yes,
Your small bowel has a microbiome, but it's not nearly as diverse. So having said that, the small intestine has basically three parts. It looks like just one 16
yeah.
foot tube, it's like, and it's probably about the diameter of my finger, typically. And it connects basically the stomach to the colon. that first little part off the stomach is pretty highly specialized because that's where the pancreas and the bile ducts kind of enter into the world. It has a lot of blood flow to that area because it's getting a lot of the digestive juices and the pancreatic juices and whatnot. From there, there's the jejunum, which is like this mid-bowel
Yep.
portion.
It's
That's kind of
missing on this. I just quickly pulled this.
has no worries. And
Yep.
then well, they've got it. So what's in green is
Yeah.
your duodenum, and what's in
Yep.
blue, in theory, is going to be your jejunum, and then the
Yeah.
light blue is going to be the ileum. And
Ileum.
the ileum is pretty highly specialized in that it's designed to absorb a lot of your vitamins. If someone were to say, okay, I'm taking 2 feet of your bowel, which 2 feet do you want to keep, or whatever, you want to keep that terminal ileum. And so if you can. So as a surgeon, my first priority when I'm operating on someone is to be cognizant of all times, like, where's the terminal ileum? How much of that am I leaving? Because there are serious nutritional consequences if you take that. Because of the vitamin absorption and the bile absorption all occurs in the terminal ileum. So
I
anyway, it has it's highly specific for absorbing nutrients, vitamins, and micronutrients. Your colon is more responsible for salt and water, whereas your small bowel is more responsible for nutrition.
so let's talk about microbiome real quick, because if someone has their colon removed,
Yeah.
what's going on with their microbiome from that perspective?
Yeah, so over time, your body will repopulate a colonic microbiome in the small intestine. It just is what it is. And some people it can take a long time, some people it only takes a few months, but you will get a microbiome population in whatever's left over in your GI tract. It can be a challenge when you don't have a colon
Yeah.
because of pH issues. So the more acidic things are, the harder it is to establish certain types of bacteria. And the more, if you don't have the digestive enzymes or if you have too many digestive enzymes, all of that naturally selects out for your microbiome. So if you're missing a colon, you can live without it, but you won't absorb salt very well. You won't absorb water very well. You're more prone for kidney stones. And then your microbiome can take a while to recover in that little bit, the end of your small intestine.
So that's how it moves up to it. So your body can always evolve and adapt. Okay, let's talk about from a small intestine. What are the main purposes of a healthy small intestine? So everyone on the call right now, I see Kim Hercha, Jennifer Sada, Tulsa, Lauren, Michelle White, Joanne Bailey, Ernest, Pat, Cheryl, our brother Robert from Arms Medical. Talk to me about what's the goal with the small intestine? What do we want? What does each one of us want from our small intestine?
Yeah, the most important goal of the small intestine is the absorption of nutrients. So while this tube is as big and round as my finger, skinny little girl finger, that's my butt poking finger, Mark, just so you know. And it's 16 feet long,
I'm ready.
but it's a very educated. But in that 16-foot long tube, if you were to take that lining and stretch it out, it is the same square footage as a tennis court. Like, so
Okay.
you're talking about fold upon fold, lots of surface area because its job is to absorb nutrients. It functions sort of as a filter, for lack of better words, that the cells of the small intestine are designed to try to figure out what's good for you and what's bad for you, which is why organic chemistry can be so dangerous because your body thinks, oh, that looks sort of like something I need, and then absorbs it. And once it's been absorbed, now
Hmm.
your poor liver's got to say, wait a second, you weren't supposed to absorb that. But, small intestine doesn't know. It just kind of grabs things that look sort of similar and absorbs
Got it.
them. So you're talking about a single cell layer thick lining that does the work to absorb every calorie that you've ever consumed in your lifetime gets absorbed through that lining.
In 16 feet. So if we come right here and we start thinking about this, anything, I want everyone to think about everything you ate today. So everything you ate today is coming in your stomach, and then it's going to come into the small intestine right here. And then it goes this is all 16 feet. and it's got to be all absorbed, correct, Anna? So to walk us through now the final piece of the small intestine from an absorption perspective, because now we're involving the liver, and then when it moves into the colon, what's our final part of digestion in that 16 feet?
Yeah, so after like really the bile and vitamin B12 are the last two important nutrients that get absorbed, but the job of this small intestine is to absorb as much as it can from what you've just consumed. And believe me, as you're eating something, you're feeding a population of bacteria as well. And what you have not absorbed winds up making its way to the colon, where the colon's not absorbing any of those nutrients. That's all food for the microbiome. So and it takes about 2 hours, sometimes a little less, sometimes a little more, but on average, 2 hours to go from the stomach to the colon, believe it or not. So if you eat something and get immediate GI distress, that is typically a small bowel problem. That means things are moving too quick and hitting your colon without your permission before you've absorbed something. So.
Now, one question I have on this is from the point of bile. So we talk about how acid reflux medication is typically, and we did a great live on that, is just masks the symptoms. Acid
Yes.
reflux is simply bile moving back in. It's because your digestion should be a one-way highway. And
Yes.
when bile starts to work its way back into the stomach, it's not supposed to be there. Walk us through how that happens, because let's work with some of the challenges. If things aren't flowing well from a colon or small intestine side, how does bile make itself back into the stomach and from that perspective lead to acid reflux?
Yeah, it's not supposed to. So, like, this is a open-ended tube, for lack of better words. There is a small valve on both sides in theory, but they're easily overwhelmed. There's supposed to be a little valve in the stomach that would prevent the reflux of bile into the stomach. So the stomach is supposed to make acid. Bile, really, to a large degree, is not supposed to really be there. However, the little sphincter, the pyloric sphincter that's there, is easily overwhelmed. If the small intestine's not emptying quite fast enough or is under a little bit of pressure, bile will go backwards. The same is true if your colon is sort of blocked. Things kind of get stagnant and reflux back into the small intestine, which is how you can get overgrowth of bacteria into the small intestine. It's not supposed to
So
be there.
so let's talk about it. So is everyone understanding the main purpose of the small intestine? It basically in 16 feet, tennis court, stretch it out.
Yep.
Its goal is to absorb all it can. So
Yes.
what you put in your mouth is going through that process. What you're
Yep.
eating. So this is why we talked about this. So think about the seed oils. Think about all these things that we're seeing out there that you put in, your body's absorbing it. We talk about leaky gut. Now let's move into overgrowth bacteria, because this is a big thing that challenges. Let's talk about some of the challenges of small intestine. So what does overgrowth bacteria in your small intestine mean?
Well, the small intestine is supposed to have, it's not sterile. It is supposed to have some bacteria, but not much, actually. And if the environment is just right, bacteria can grow there and it will migrate from the colon into the small intestine. So, in other words, if you're not making enough stomach acid, if you don't have enough digestive enzymes, if you have too much inflammation going on, if you have a breakdown of the epithelial lining, all these things attract bacteria into the small bowel. And once they are there, they kind of wreak havoc. You've got bacteria that are making methane that causes belly bloat. You got bacteria that's making sulfur that causes diarrhea. So it's like, the methane people or the constipation belly bloat, and the sulfur people are the crampy belly pain diarrhea folks, right? So that's all coming from bacteria that are digesting your food before you've had a chance to digest it and absorb it. That's why it's so important to coordinate the stomach, bile, pancreas, digestive enzymes in that upper part of the intestinal tract properly. Because if you do
What
that properly, then you've absorbed all the little nutrients the way you're supposed to long before the small intestine can be populated with bacteria. So that's the whole point.
And I think this is just an important time to come back to, like, when we think about, I'm just going to hit the learn page real quick. When you think about Zyve, the whole point is 7 steps. Churn it up, break it down, build it stronger, feel the burn, repel the nasties, gently expel, rise, and excel. You can, I'll show you this page so you can see it, but this is the flow. These are the challenges that happen when it's not a one-way highway. Now, Anna, what are some solutions if you are having, what's it called again with the overgrowth? It's, Abby was just mentioning it. What's it called
It's
when they
called
have
small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, or SIBO. Now, it is in,
SIBO?
that is way overdiagnosed. I'll be quite honest with you.
Okay.
Everyone thinks they eat something, they bloat, they've got SIBO. Why do they say that? Well, because their doctor says, well, if you had SIBO, I can give you this antibiotic, and they do. It can be a very expensive antibiotic, and it can make patients feel better for a month or two. But if you don't really change that patient, what they're eating, how they're digesting, if they're chewing properly, if you don't take them off the antacids, et cetera, then in 3 months it's just going to come back. This is bacteria. Like, these are mindless organisms. They just grow where they can. So you can kill them all you want to with antibiotics. They're just going to grow back in the exact same pattern unless you change them. So you can train them, like you can train a puppy, but you can never permanently eradicate. It's just not possible.
So you got to change the behavior, as Robert said.
100%.
And that's the best thing. This is why we're doing these. Now, last thing before we're going to talk about some things people can do immediately to help their small intestine. Let's talk about Crohn's. So
Okay.
what is Crohn's from a point of small intestine? And I just want to share this. All the people, I mean, I've coached, I think about 2,000 people with Crohn's. And what
Yeah.
I would see was this. When they would understand how to eat, we call it PFC3, and they'd understand food, and they would do all the things we talk about, gluten-free, dairy-free, all these things. Their Crohn's was so good. The
Yes.
X factor, and even when they would go off a bit, like if we say like maybe they went and had some dairy, some gluten, they'd still be okay. But stress was the trigger for them. And this is what I've always seen with, and I'm just talking about clients I've worked with.
Sure.
Stress was something, and we see this with digestion, constipation, acid reflux. Stress causes everything to work backwards. So tell me what Crohn's is, and
Yep.
then why is stress such a big piece of it?
Sure. Stress is bad for everybody, but anyway, yes.
Yep.
Crohn's disease. Crohn's disease is
Everyone still loves the finger. That's like your butt finger. I love that. That
my
I'm
butt,
going to experience.
that's my butt poking finger.
What
Get to
hand
know
is that? Is that the left hand or right hand?
my right hand, my friend.
No one shake Anna's right hand ever.
I've had friends
22,000 butthole.
when I get my, well, I can't even count how many buttholes I've had to interrogate, Mark. I mean, it's what I do for a living, for Lord's sake. But anyway, I have been told next time I get my fingernails done, I should do that one with brown and keep all the rest of them pink or red. But I've decided against that. That seems crass. All right, so Crohn's disease is an autoimmune disease, and it can afflict the GI tract from basically your mouth all the way to your hiney. It causes full thickness inflammation, and so patients with Crohn's disease can get really sick. They can get strictures, which are
Yep.
blockages, and they can get fistulas, which are complex infections. And so this is a little bit different than something called ulcerative colitis, which only affects the colon. So Crohn's can affect the entire GI tract. It can be difficult to diagnose, I'll be honest with you, because some people only have a couple of the symptoms. Like it's almost like gluten sensitivity. Some people are celiac disease and can't touch the stuff, and some
Mm-hmm.
people have like a little indigestion because they had wheat. And so Crohn's can be on a spectrum like that also in its severity. I have found in my patients the number one trigger of disaster for patients, and this is almost how I know they've got Crohn's or ulcerative colitis, is they refuse to eat salads,
Got it.
because that type of roughage causes intestinal distress big time. So if I'm talking to someone who's got like weird guts and so forth and so on, and they refuse to touch a salad, can't do it, then that's me writing for labs to look up for Crohn's disease, because they almost all share that in common. They just don't like salads. But anyway, stress can affect any gut problem because it can increase motility.
Mm-hmm.
It can also change the gut microbiome. And people who have inflammatory bowel disease already have a dorked up microbiome because of all of the inflammation. So the pH of their GI tract is completely wrong because the inflammation is out of control. The amount of oxygen that's in the system is out of whack because of the amount of inflammation they have. And so your job, if you are one of those patients, is to control inflammation as best as possible. And the first way to do that is to stop inflaming yourself with foods that are known to be inflammatory, which is why those patients always do much better on a gluten-free diet and
Yeah.
milk-free diet. Those things improve inflammation just by avoidance.
And I think that's the biggest thing. That's why we do these weekly calls. And that's why Zyve 7's by PFC3, because it goes hand in hand on the education side. When we think about our small intestine, our large intestine, our stomach, everything that we focused on in these live trainings, the end of the day, and I'm going to share my top 3 things on how to help your small intestine, and Dr. Anna is going to share hers. We already talked about some of the other things that you can do as we kicked off this call, but I would say my top 3 right now. Number 1 is to really avoid gluten. Okay, so that's going to be my number 1 thing across the board. Avoid gluten. Number 2 for me is going to be balance your blood sugar with protein, fats, and carbohydrates. So we've posted visuals, food lists, eat clean protein, fats, and carbohydrates to help balance your blood sugar. Because what I've seen is that the more balanced your blood sugar is, the more things are working, your hormones are balanced, your stress is better. Think about the last time you were starving, how stressed you were. Things don't work well. It causes disruptions. And then the third thing for me is going to be drink more water. Like, that's where I'm going to start. Now, I could talk dairy and all those things, but for me, because this is what's fun, Dr. Anna is a digestive surgeon. I'm a nutritionist. So I see people who come to me and they're not like Dr. Anna level. Like, they're like, I don't feel good, I'm bloated, stuff like that. So I'm going to start with those things, and we see that. But through our partnership, we found this ground of like, wait a second, it should all be connected. So Anna, from my side, it's gluten, it's eating clean protein, fats, and carbs, and it's hydrating, drinking a minimum of 3 liters of water. Okay, that's what I'm going to recommend. If everyone can commit to that, now you're going to hear Dr. Anna, but if everyone can commit to that, and then we're going to show how Zyve helps counter some of this, because I understand you might have to eat gluten. Dr. Anna says you'd be gluten-free for 6 to 8 weeks. And for me, those are the 3 things. Anna, what are your 3 things?
Well, so, and I hate to harsh everyone's mellow because I'm going to ramp up. If you truly are struggling,
Ramp it up with your right finger. Let's go.
if you never want to meet this finger, the issue is in the modern world, all grains, even the ones that are organic, at some point in time are going to see glyphosate, which is an herbal or a herbicide. And glyphosate and really any of the organophosphates, whether insecticides or herbicides that they use to dry oats, that's gluten free. And a lot of people, their stomachs are dorked up and they're eating oats every single day. Why? Because they spray oats with glyphosate. Even the ones labeled as organic. Organic just means they were grown without the presence of those things. It means nothing as far as how was it dried? How was it milled? Like, that's where they start doing some of these shortcuts. So I would tell people, if you're really, really struggling, go grain free.
Got it.
Basically, and if any of you guys are following PFC3, then it's that first 28 days is a grain-free diet. You're not doing any breads whatsoever. You're getting fruits and veggies and that sort of thing. That's how you're getting your carbohydrates without the grains. So that would be something that I would suggest. Second thing
So,
is,
so real quick, no wheat, no barley, no oats, no rice. That's all grain free. Kind of like the concept of the paleo, when paleo introduced grain free. So you're going to go grain free. All these little programs came in because they're nutritionists like me to the degree. They're not working with the number 1 colorectal surgeon. That's why Dr. Anna's insight matters so much, because Dr. Anna, and I just got to give you some love, her mind goes layers deeper than I've ever seen. Now, I did have to correct her a couple times in our infomercial shoot. So that being said, but she went into my area and I had to like, wait a second, but
he
we
smacked me
corrected
down.
that.
No, he smacked me down. That's cool. That's all right. That's okay. It's
But with that being
Anna
said, there's no
10,000
one like
Markham.
Dr.
That's cool.
Anna.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Your
That's
layers is better than anyone I've ever seen. And that's why like these calls matter so much, because there is no better brain and mind on gut health and digestion than Dr. Anna Tucker. Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Glyphosate, we just did, it's weed killer, Michelle. We just did a whole segment on that last week.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere, and they spray all the crops with it, and even it's organic. So watch that live that we did last week. It was amazing. Oh, so grain free. What else?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So I would tell you grain free. As far as additives, consider turmeric. There's a lot of studies, especially with Crohn's disease. Since you brought up Crohn's disease, I'll kind of circle that. Turmeric is a great topical anti-inflammatory,
Okay.
and add that to some food. It's easy to take. It doesn't taste too bad either. You can make your own little juice with it if you want to do a ginger
I
turmeric
did. I did
kind
one
of.
with Sue Hitzman. She
Yeah,
called it
right
the
on.
voodoo juice.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Okay.
It's a great anti-inflammatory, almost no matter what in your body has inflammation. And that's a nice, comes from God source. Just make sure it's organic, obviously, so you can avoid the glyphosate. Let's see. So we're gonna add that. And then I was going to say something so prescient and so awesome that I think I've almost lost track. I think the other easy thing that you could do, because we could go into the stuff to avoid, trust
Yeah.
me, I've got legions of books. The next easiest thing to do is make sure you're chewing your food properly. A lot of
Got
people
it.
who have stomach upset do not chew their food. They eat too fast. This is why processed food, everyone likes it because you don't have to chew. It's like pre-chewed practically. It only looks like real food. So,
Got
so,
it.
so real food and chew it well.
I love this. So Anna's grain free, add organic turmeric, chew your food slowly.
Yeah, yeah.
And then mine were gluten free, eat clean protein, fats, and carbohydrates, and hydrate. Those are the 6 things. Now, listen, we're always talking about 1% and start where you are. And we understand perfection as it is. But if you can take on those 6 things, then give us a yes in that. Give us the number you can do. 5, 6 is you're going to do all of them. 4, you're going to do 4 of them. 1, you're going to do 1 of them. 0, you're just thinking about it. But give
Look,
us a number you can commit to.
I'm going to
Oh, we got a
encourage.
bunch of 6s. Okay.
Oh, okay. It's all right. I was going to encourage those who are like grain free. What am I going to eat? That means you're eating too many grains, first of all. Secondly, a potato is not a grain.
Yep.
Cassava root is not a grain. So those root those tubers, those are not grain. So if you're like, hey, I'm Irish and I have to have a potato, go for it. That's not a grain. So we do a lot of potatoes because my husband is half Irish. So there you go.
Samson Lee, rice is a grain. So see that. Okay. But I think we'll do a whole nother thing on rice. I love my brother, Samson Lee. We traveled the world together because Samson's great to see you on.
And again, it really kind of depends. You can get rice from all over the world where they're not spraying it with the glyphosate stuff. Do you see what I'm saying? So I mean, if you know the source and how it's dried, collected, and whatnot, then rice may be okay. That is one of the ones where I will give some wiggle on. Go down to the H Mart and get some Asian rice. You're probably fine.
Hey, I love Rebecca. She said 7, including dairy free. Rebecca. I love all the 6s. This is what we do. Now, listen, we understand perfection does not exist. This is why Zyve matters. We talked about the 7 steps of digestion. And I just walk me through, because we designed Zyve to hit each one of these. But let's walk through just as we designed it.
Yep.
We've specifically focused on things, and let's just focus directly on small intestine. We'll do large intestine. You don't want to miss next week because that's the large intestine and microbiome. And then stomach, every week is fun week. Walk us through small intestine particularly. I understand from a point of nutrient absorption, what when Zyve helps with this?
Yeah, well, I mean, you can't absorb stuff unless it's broken down, right? So you got to take that steak has to somehow make its way into individual amino acids for you to be able to absorb it. And so therefore the digestive enzymes are the primary worker as far as breaking things down so you can absorb them.
And share why cellulase is so important here.
Yes. So Cellulose is the building block for plant-based materials, and the human body does not make an enzyme to break that down. It is a basically carbohydrate wall matrix, little cubicle wall matrix. Your body can't really break down. All the bacteria in your body can break it down. And so one of the reasons people will get bloatiness after they eat broccoli or spinach or whatever the case may be is because of all that cellulase. Now, when you juice it, when you blend it, it's better, it's easier for you to break down. And then you add some cellulose to that, and all of a sudden, that's an enzyme that breaks down cellulase, breaks down cellulose. So you can help digest plant materials better. So if you struggle digesting plant material, this will have a positive impact on you.
And this is
Um,
part of what you want to see on labels. Lactase helps break
yeah,
down lactose.
lactose. Yep.
Amylase helps break down carbohydrates in your
Sugar.
mouth. So, like from the moment you start chewing food, things
Yes.
are being broken down. So the
Yes.
enzymes help break that down so your small intestine can absorb.
Correct.
Anything from the proprietary blend right there from a small intestine side.
Yes. Yeah, and then those proteins, the protease, the bromelain, the papain, and the pepsin, those actually help break down inflammatory proteins like zonulin, like gluten. And so that can help small intestinal problems as well because it's going to break down those proteins that cause inflammation and problems in your gut. So that's a proprietary blend of enzymes is critical. As far as the herbals. The things that are anti-inflammatory, so like you got ginger and you've got pepper. Digga, 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 digga. Parsley has a little bit of an anti-inflammatory. Dandelion is a good diuretic, which helps get rid of some of the inflammation. The milk thistle helps with liver help and bile. Dandelion helps with the bile. Marshmallow it actually helps you because it makes like this mucus layer. And some of the really helpful bacteria in your body love that mucus. It's part of what they live on. So to take something to help you make a mucus layer that good bacteria like, that can help gut health in the long run. So a lot of the stuff in our proprietary blend herbally is for the small bowel to coordinate bile, digestive enzymes, the motility, getting rid of water and inflammation and that sort of thing.
Talk to me
So,
about the beet fiber and then the cysteine.
yeah, cysteine is an anti-inflammatory. Your body will turn that into glutathione. And glutathione and it's interesting. So I just talked about turmeric, and turmeric's an anti-inflammatory, and it can help with one or two redox reactions. So you got to eat a lot of turmeric. Glutathione, on the other hand, can do maybe 40 or 50,000 redox reactions. So in other words, one glutathione molecule lasts a really long time, is critical to life, and you make less of it as you age. So you need to have a source of cysteine in your life, and so that's one of the reasons it's in this supplement. Beet fiber is just prebiotic. It's food. That's food for the good bacteria. Your body likes that fiber and will turn it into an anti-inflammatory substance called a short chain fatty acid. So that's how we use that.
And next week we're going to do a great thing on prebiotics, probiotics, and we're going to talk microbiome.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. I
Yes, because we're going to dive into the colon next week. You're excited for the large intestine?
Mark, I've spent, how old am I? I'm 56 years old. I have literally spent the last 30 some odd years of my life studying the colon. Yes.
Man,
Yes. Oh, I can
it's
talk
just
about
awesome.
it. That's
We
something I
all
can
want to.
talk
I
about.
mean, you know what's so cool? I just want as we wrap tonight, everyone, and I know we
Like
went a
all
little bit
these books are
longer.
all about the colon, by the way, just so you
It's
know.
just there is nothing more important in this world than you understanding your gut health. I'm just going to say it. Like learning, you have taught me so much,
Mm,
and I love learning from you every single week.
mm,
And it's just awesome to understand this. And as you understand food and you understand how to make food work into your lifestyle, because that's part of this. Like once you understand the way your gut works, well, then you got to learn how to grocery shop. You got to learn how to
yeah,
take your food on the go. You need your mobile readiness food kit. You need to know how to eat in restaurants. You know how to order in restaurants. Like that's why the combination is so important, because as you get this knowledge, as you choose to show up every Monday Night Live and ask your questions, you're going to learn how to live with gut greatness. And when you learn how to live with gut greatness, everything is better in this world. And if you can wake up feeling great every day, that's the goal. And that's how it should be. Okay, I love that. Everyone just said, Ariana just took 2 Zyve. I feel I can learn forever we can. Let me see. A couple questions and then we'll wrap it up. Do you take pepper with turmeric for it to absorb?
Yeah, there's some people who say that to do that. They're both anti-inflammatories.
Okay.
And so you will see a lot of these little juices, those two in there. There is pepper in our Zyve 7. So if you wanted to do turmeric on like a curry kind of meal with your Zyve
Yep.
7, that'd be a perfect combo.
Or do it like I'll repost a video I did with Sue. We should do a voodoo juice. Sue, the creator of Melt Method. Like, oh man, that
Yeah,
voodoo juice. I need some more voodoo juice. That's what she calls it.
100%. Yeah,
Let me
100%.
see if there's anything else. Samson Lee loving his Zyve. And I think that's why we made Zyve. I just want everyone to understand. You still need to do the work.
Yeah.
But we also still want to eat sometimes. You might want to have some things like you want to, and you need these 7 steps of digestion. And to see myself, who's really had a really good digestive system compared to Abby, who has not had a great digestive system, how Zyve has been a difference maker for both of us is amazing. And I think that's the key. Sam's going to take 2 to 4 for dinner. Yes. I do AVC for blood sugar, AVC, turmeric, and black pepper. Okay. So in the Zyve Alive crew group, let's all post the different concoctions we do to help our small intestines. Today's about winning with your small intestine. It absorbs everything. It's 16 feet. It's your tennis court. And if you can learn how to optimize that baby, you're winning. Then until next week, we're going to dive into microbiome, your large intestine, and then we're going to wrap up with the stomach, understanding how each part works so that you can win. We love you, Gut Guardians. Dr. Anna, thank you for bringing the power every single week. You're the best in the world. Bye. Let's look at that finger, right finger. There we go. I'm not shaking that hand again. Okay. Bye, everyone. Bye.